Pete, and welcome to springtime. Today, as I indicated in the post, if you were reading along from our last drum cover, where we did Joy Spring with the Latin Jazz All-Stars, Tito Puente, and a lot of great players are on that. I thought we would explore some basics of Latin music for drummers in terms of the clave, the cascara, and just some of the basic things that happen there. And then in subsequent videos throughout the year and into the future, we'll pick certain Latin rhythms, the mambo, the songo, and things like that, as we did with the samba. Okay, the Brazilian, stuff we just did recently, and I did one last year too. So anyway, let's get right down to it. Let's do some basics. Now, two very good books on this that you should have if you don't already have them are Conversations in Clave with Horacio Hernandez, and he needs no introduction if you listen to that music at all, if you know anything about it, right? And the other one is Chuck Silverman's, I want to make sure I get the title of it. I had this book for so long, but it's Practical Applications, Afro-Caribbean Rhythms for the Drum Set. So between those two books, there's a ton of knowledge you'll get. You'll get, like, I don't want to say all you need, but you'll get a lot of it. Okay, so in any event, let's get started. So with Horacio Hernandez, he does mention in the book that the foundation of Latin rhythms is the clave, and he has in the first section of the book, what do you know, what I call permutations or just shifting. So he lays down the clave, a rumba clave. So, and he also outlines for you the different kinds of clave, son clave and rumba clave, and the son clave would have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, where the rumba clave in that first measure, they'll put the beat on the and after 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4. So he worked with the rumba clave in section 1 of the book, and he just suggests putting the hi-hat on 1. A lot of times when you play Latin music in the pure Latin context, you're not playing Latin jazz or fusion or crossover. You're playing on the 1 and then the 3. So it would be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, and that's what he does. He introduces the snare drum. You could the rim click. I have the snare off, so I'm just playing on the tom. But he just says, all right, let's introduce the left hand 1, and then the and after 1, and then 2, the and after 2, and so forth, while keeping the ostinato, as we call it, going. So as I just played the first one, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Don't worry about your right foot just yet. We'll get there. So that's system 1, as he calls it in the book, and it's just that clave. Now it is what they call a 3-2. So there's 3 beats in measure 1. It's a 2-bar phrase, as you probably know, and in this case it's 3 beats and then 2 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3. But it could be 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 You could have the 2, in the first measure and 3 in the second measure. So that would be a 2, 3. Just so you know that when it's time for you to know it. And you just make sure you go back and forth. Then you hear the music. So if you hear the music, if the song is like got so you have your clave, very, very important. It's key to Latin music, Latin jazz, and of course, it's definitely finding its way into fusion, okay? Then there's the cascara, and that's the cymbal pattern. Now you shift the clave to your left hand, let's say, and then the various cymbal patterns that you would have that might accompany some of these things, So you would hear like, find out that you have clave and cascara. Cascara usually would be played on the side of the drum, or see, for a drum set player we're talking to, these parts were played by different people in the rhythm section, and then they said, hey drummer, could you do that part, and could you do this part, because we can't afford to get that many people, or we don't have that many people, or just can you do that? And of course there are people that can really do that very well. But I was adding the bass drum in, which is called the tumbao. That would be like the underlying rhythm of the tune. In that particular instance, I was doing the and after 2 and 4, very, very common. But there could be 1 and the and after 2, it could be the and after 1 and 3, it could be anywhere that the music calls for. So you have to be able to do that. But with your cascaras, you would have patterns that match the clave. So in Chuck Silverman's book, he has, I have to make sure I don't lose this page, like as an example, the 2-3, clave is right here, and then he has the, just get a lot of times these things won't stay pinned. Even though I pinned them. Okay, so we have here the 2-3 clave, and this would be the cascara that would go with it. I'm just playing on the bell of the cymbal, so he's got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the cascara fit very nicely together. Very convenient for you to play those. If it was the other way around, of course you would reverse the measures and you would play the second bar with the first, with the 3-note clave. That happens to be a 2-3. Okay, so what's the point of all this is that if your band is headed in a direction where they want to put some Latin music into songs or into some arrangements of traditional songs, such as Joy Spring is a traditional jazz tune, Max Roach, Clifford Brown. I did a cover of that last year, yeah. And it's with brushes, and it's in a jazz format. So the Latin All-Stars state that, and they cover the song, but with a Latin feel and flair. So say your band's going to do that with a different tune. You have to have some of the basics of Latin music in order to do that. So you definitely need to understand clave, and then you start learning Cascara rhythms, and then you start going back to your own jazz roots, or even your funk and jazz roots, where you start saying, okay, I can mix and match these things. We know in jazz we have the hi-hat on 2 and 4 a lot. And we have the ostinato, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3. Well here, on the 1 and 3, 1. When you get into what they say Afro-Caribbean funk fusion, jazz fusion, Latin jazz fusion, you wouldn't play necessarily in the strict structure of that you would in a Latin band, okay? But you're going to be taking elements of it, hence fusion, okay? You're fusing together certain elements to make a new musical statement. And we're all about trying to help you get the basic ingredients so you can create the beat you keep. That's what the purpose of this short segment is. So what did we cover? The clave, or 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and Cascara. Yes, it's dropped in. Oh, they will drop it into you know, a 4-bar phrase. They'll do it as an interlude. The Temptations used it in, I forget if Ain't Too Bad to Beg or. So it's going to appear in pop and rock and jazz and so forth and so on. And when you start thinking in these terms, then you can start getting into like 4-bar fills and things and think a little differently. Come in and out of the transitions differently. And if you sprinkle this in, or if the band is calling for like a Latin jazz, Latin fusion, Latin funk arrangement, you will be there. You'll be able to attend the party. And I think things should go very well at that point. Okay, so we're summing it up. Get your clave down, learn your different Cascaras, then start listening to a lot of the music, medium tempo, some quick, some slower. You'll notice they use the cowbell a lot. They're using different parts of the set. And then the bell of the cymbal. And then you start realizing that you're going to be using different aspects of your coordination. And when you put it all together, you have another whole set of tools to bring with you to integrate into the music you're going to play. Now, as one last thing, if you're going to be headed towards doing a whole Latin gig, and you're going to be in that mode for like the next 4 months, the band's doing a whole Latin set and everything like that. Well, unless you're very well versed in that, they're not calling you anyway. But let's say you need to pinch hit, then you got to get really up to speed and play these rhythms very strictly. And I would say, more conservatively, because they're going to expect that type of structure when you do that. That's just a side note, okay, if you're really going to be in that mode, okay? So, for those of you that are new subscribers, welcome aboard. And for those of you that have been with me for a while, it's all about getting some ingredients to create the beat you keep. Keep the beat with Pete. Thanks for watching. Peace out.